We know a lot about our planets in our solar system. We know the velocities of the planets in their orbit around the Sun. As for the Earth, that velocity is 29.8 km per second. I used the fact sheets from NASA. The velocities of the planets around the Sun are different from each other. The planets closer to the Sun move faster than the planets farther away. The biggest planets in our solar system are Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn revolves around the Sun at 9.7 km per second. And Jupiter, our biggest planet, moves around at 13.1 km per second. If you compare the velocities of the planets and want to know the average velocity of the planets according to the masses of the planets, then we are talking about the root mean square velocity of the planets. That's the Vrms. The velocity. Root. Mean. Square. It means, the biggest planets are most determinative for that mean velocity. That velocity must be between the Jovian 13.1 km per second and the velocity of Saturn 9.7 km per second. To calculate more exactly the root mean square velocity, we use this formula. The root mean square velocity is found by the root from 2 times the total kinetic energy divided by the total masses. The Vrms is calculated from the velocities of the planets and the masses of the planets that we know. This value is the root mean square velocity of the planets in our solar system. The calculated value is 12.3 km per second. This value was very interesting because it is so close to the value of 12.278 km per second that results in the gravitational constant of Newton. We know that an orbiting planet has more energy than the same planet in rest. The formula for this difference in energy is found in an equation that is based on the Lorentz Transformation of Mass-Energy. It says that the mass energy of an accelerated object mv is equal to that object in rest times gamma. What is that gamma factor? We read, gamma equals 1 divided by the root of 1 minus velocity squared divided by c squared. That is by light speed squared. This gamma is the gamma for the Lorentz transformation of mass-energy. Instead of the velocity of each planet I use the root mean square velocity. Why the Vrms? The original velocity of the planets was equal to the orbiting velocity of the accretion disk that surrounded the Sun. By conservation of angular momentum, the total kinetic energy of the planets is still the root mean square velocity of these planets. We saw, the kinetic energy of the orbiting mass mv is equal to the rest mass m0 times the gamma factor. The difference between m0 and m orbiting is expressed in this formula gamma minus 1 times the mass in rest. This factor gamma minus 1 will show up many times in the equations that describe the parameters of our solar system. For example, the acceleration at the surface is expressed in this formula where ap is the acceleration at the surface of the planet. mp is the mass of the planet and r is the radius of the planet. It means, the acceleration at the surface is the result of the difference between being in rest and being accelerated proportional to the mass divided over the surface area of the planet. In short, it's the acceleration at the surface that makes it possible to ride in a roller coaster. The velocity squared is expressed by this formula. Vp being the orbital velocity of the planet, mp the mass of the orbiting planet and d being the distance to the central mass, our Sun. That must be the same as the well-known equations from Newton, ap for the acceleration at the surface and vp for the velocity of the orbiting planet. Gn for the well-known gravitational constant of Newton. Now we can see that gamma minus 1 divided by 4 pi is equal to the gravitational constant. With some basic algebra we can derive what exactly the velocity must be in the beta factor of the LTME. That value is 12.3 km per second. To be exact, it's 12,278 meters per second. We may postulate that the Vrms of the solar system is equal to the Vrms in the beta factor. So, it is the base for the gamma factor in the LTME and the base for the gravitational constant. Yes. Gamma minus 1 over 4 pi is equal to the gravitational constant. (12,278 meter per second) is the velocity in the beta factor of the Lorentz transformation of mass-energy, determining the gravitational constant that rules the velocity of the planets and the velocity of falling objects. Let's check if we can calculate the acceleration at the surface of the Earth. The factor gamma minus 1 divided by 4 pi, the yellow part, equals the gravitational constant. I know Occam's razor would tell me that the Newtonian expression is preferred, but sometimes this razor hides the underlying physics. The Vrms at 12,278 meter per second is also found in these formulas. Check these calculations and equations of significance with a few hundred related equations and calculations. The coupling constant kappa. The Hubble constant. 2 times gamma minus 1 times c squared. Vrms with vacuum permittivity and permeability. Vrms with CMB. Based on these equations and detailed calculations, I come to the assumption that all matter originates from a primordial energy field converted by the Lorentz transformation of mass-energy. This transformation is essentially a change in cubic meters, m to the third, relative to mass, kilogram, in an accelerated way, seconds squared. All matter from atom to Earth, to solar system, to stellar systems and the universe. In another video I proposed that the gravitational constant consists of 2 parts. One part is the inflow of energy dragging objects down to the center of our planet. And the second part is the coupling constant kappa. The kappa function causes a very tiny expansion. Together it is the 9.8 acceleration at the surface of the Earth. This tiny part of expansion causes the continental drift and the ring of fire.